Turkey just launched a regime that could reshape the mobility map for the next decade. 20 years of zero tax on foreign income for new residents, 4 times longer than Italy, twice as long as Portugal, and at a rate even Cyprus can't match. The country most people associate with holidays and air transplants might now be the most aggressive tax play in Europe-adjacent geography. But there is a critical question that's lurking in the shadow. So today I'm going to break this down objectively, the regime, the cultural reality, and 6 cities you should actually know about. Let's dive in. So let me start with the regime itself. In April 2026, President Erdogan announced the regime and the parliament approved it. To put the numbers in full context, Italy's Impatriati gives you 5 years at 50% exemption, Spain's Beckham law gives you 6 years at 24% flat locally and 0% on foreign income, Greece's Article 5C gives you 7 years at 50% off, Portugal's IFICI gives you 10 years at 20% flat local income, 0% foreign income. Cyprus's non-dom gives you 17 years at 0 on dividends and interest. Turkey now gives you 20 at 0 on foreign income. Yes, 0. For example, a founder whose US company earns its revenue from US clients and pays out dividends. The profit is made at the foreign company level, not in Turkey. An investor holding shares in foreign companies collecting dividends and capital gains from those foreign businesses for sure will qualify. These also qualify a retiree living off a foreign pension and interest from foreign held assets. What about a Turkish business? It would be taxed at standard Turkish rates, progressive up to 40%. Same with Turkish rental income. This regime is most powerful when the income is truly produced abroad, a foreign company, foreign assets, while you live in Turkey. It's materially less interesting, of course, for anyone who is going to earn locally. On the other thing to note is the qualifying period, 3 years of prior non-Turkish tax residency before entering. Most people watching this will already qualify, but if you have lived in Turkey in any of the last 3 tax years, the regime won't apply to you. Fundamentally, the math checks out flawlessly. A family with 250k of foreign source income would save roughly 100k to 115k per year versus typical Western European rates. Over 20 years, that's over 2 million of compounded savings. But here is what makes Turkey proposition even more interesting. It's not just a tax regime, but it's also a citizenship play. Turkey has a citizenship by investment program that's been running for years, and it's one of the most straightforward in the world. $400,000 in real estate held for 3 years, multiple properties can be combined, alternatives options also exist, 500k bank deposit, 500k in fixed capital, government bonds, or creating 50 jobs. Processing is roughly 3 to 6 months end-to-end, same-day biometrics and citizenship filing have been available since February. Spouse and children under 18 included, no residency requirement or language test, and dual citizenship allowed. Now, in terms of travel access, the Turkish passport gives you around 114 destinations visa-free or visa on arrival. That's not EU level, where an Italian passport would get you 190 plus, but it covers most of Asia, Latin America, and the Middle East without a visa. Japan, South Korea, Indonesia, all visa-free. Schengen zone and the US still require visas. So the full picture, a passport in months for $400,000 and up to 20 years of zero tax on everything you earn outside Turkey. It's not a European Union passport, but paired with one, the combination is objectively powerful. So what is the catch here? Turkey is not Portugal, it's not Cyprus, not Spain, nor Italy. It's of course a Muslim majority country with a volatile currency, an hybrid political regime, and a language barrier that's higher than anywhere else on the typical list. So the honest question is, does it really make sense for most people to live there? By the way, if you're new here, every week I share updates and strategies when it comes to relocation, tax optimization, and building a sovereign life abroad. So make sure to hit subscribe to follow along and hit the like button if you've been enjoying this so far. It helps a lot. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Is Turkey workable for non-Muslim Western families? I've been thinking about Turkey on and off for a very long time. The numbers have always been compelling. The cultural questions have been less clear. And then, by coincidence, a Turkish friend of mine had a layover at my place last week, so we sat down for what was supposed to be a coffee, and it turned into a full audit of a list of 6 cities where in Turkey an international family should and could actually live pretty well. What she told me reshaped how I think about the entire country, so I asked her this question directly also because I've never lived in Turkey, so I genuinely wanted to learn. Her answer was unambiguous. She said that none of the cities on this list will be a problem. Turkey is very secular in that sense. The more east you go, the more conservative it gets, but on the west coast, religion is not a friction for expats or families who would like to relocate to Turkey. And the Constitutional Foundation backs this up. Article 2 of Turkey's constitution defines the republic as secular. Atatürk's 1923 founding established a sharp separation of mosque and state. Latin alphabet adopted. Religious dress has been restricted in public institutions for decades. Islamic law was replaced with European civil codes. The AKP government under Erdogan has Islamist roots and has loosened some of those strictures, but the constitutional secularism remains intact. So simply put, the expat neighborhoods on the west coast will feel closer to Athens or Mykonos than anything in the Middle East. Alcohol is widely served, international schools are fully secular, women dress as they would in any Mediterranean city. The farther east and inland you go, the more conservative it gets, but those aren't the places you'd relocate with a family. The bigger barrier overall is language, not religion, but I'll get to that later. So if you're actually considering this, where do you go? My friend and I went through every major city. Here is the list of the 6 that we landed on. Istanbul is the default, the only place where the regime, cosmopolitan life, school debt, and a global hub airport all come together. The European side, Bebek, Etiler, Nizantazi. Healthcare is world class at 30 to 50% of Western European cost. The Asian side, Kadikoy, Moda is the artsy alternative. Every expat I've talked to who lived in Istanbul loved it. Some moved to Lisbon and still want to go back. The catch is that prime housing has caught up to London, especially in the expat zones. Izmir is the underrated pick, 3rd biggest city in Turkey and the most secular. My friend's framing was that it's Greek vibes practically. Next to Greek and very Greek feeling, the smart move is living in one of the surrounding towns, Urla, Fossa, Seferisher, and commuting into Izmir for schools and amenities. For families wanting secular Aegean lifestyle at lower cost than Istanbul, this is it. Bodrum is the slow life. I had it positioned as a luxury digital nomad spot. My friend revealed it became a retirement place. Very good English, more slow living, chill. Yali Kavak Marina competes with Saint-Tropez at peak season, but the school stack is thin and winter connectivity drops. Best for retirees, younger kid families, or as a summer base with Istanbul primary. Many Turkish ultra-net-worth families do exactly this split. Antalya is the Mediterranean family city, fastest growing metro with 300 plus sunny days, but the expat composition is specific. Go to certain areas and you might hear more Russian than Turkish. Since 2022, a large Russian community plus German, Dutch and Scandinavian populations, the practical warm weather peak at a lower cost than Bodrum or Istanbul. Sesme and Almaty are the seasonal play, the Turkish elite's summer hub on the Izmir Peninsula. Small scale, high-end, charming and almost empty for 9 months. My friend visited Almaty in November and said she found it very small, literally empty. Best use would be a secondary residency to Izmir or summer base to Istanbul. Tarsus is the insider trip. I asked my friend where she'd actually live if she moved back. Not Istanbul nor Izmir, but Tarsus, a smaller city in Mersin province on the southern Mediterranean coast. Why? Tarsus American College, founded in 1888. In her view, the second best American school in the country. The catch is you are far from the Aegean circuit, but for families wanting top-tier schooling at a fraction of the cost, this is the contrarian pick going under the radar. By the way, if you want the full write-up on all these cities, neighborhood schools, cost breakdowns, I published a detailed guide on Substack that goes much deeper than I can in a video. Link is in the description below. Now, let me compare Turkey to the place everyone is already considering. I can't talk about Turkey's regime without addressing the UAE because for the last decade, the UAE has been the dominant answer for international families optimizing on tax. The two regimes are different beasts. UAE offers zero personal tax across the board, local income, foreign income, capital gains with no expiry. Dirham is pegged to USD, no currency risk, world-class infrastructure and English everywhere. Turkey offers a different package, zero on foreign source income for 20 years, the lira has lost roughly 85% of its value against the dollar in the last 5 years. But the cultural debt is enormous. 4 real seasons, walkable cities, real history, real food culture, 2 to 3 hours from Europe. So who actually switches? Mediterranean Europeans who are tired of 6-hour flights home and want to be 2 hours from Rome instead, families wanting cultural depth in their kids' formative years, founders structuring foreign source income who don't need UAE's worldwide zero tax advantage, and who stays in the UAE. Truly global businesses with Asia-facing operations, families with kids deep in UAE school cities, anyone who values institutional predictability above all. And then there is the third path, dual basing, a few months in Turkey, perhaps for culture, climate, eventually tax, and other few months in the UAE for business reasons, networking, depending on your own setup. The new regime makes these much more attractive and actually feasible. Now, let me give you the honest catches, because there are 4 key ones. First, currency. The lira has lost roughly 85% against the dollar and euro over 5 years. Don't hold savings in lira. Multi-currency banking is essential. Real estate in expat zones is increasingly priced in USD, so negotiate accordingly. Garanti, BBVA, Akbank, Yapı Kredi all offer dollar and euro accounts. Second, earthquakes. Turkey sits on major fault lines. Istanbul itself sits on a non-major fault. Buildings built after the 2018 building code update are materially safer than older construction, so when choosing housing, ask the build year. Third, language. I've said it already, but it's an important consideration. Turkish is the bigger barrier than religion. Outside the most international enclaves, you generally need it. Plan for serious learning even if there is no official language test. And fourth, regime durability. The 20-year regime has parliament approval, but whether it's constitutionally protected for current entrants, so future governments can't narrow or revoke it retroactively, is less clear. The current AKP government has been supportive of policies attracting international capital. A future government with a strong majority could, in theory, narrow or revoke. And I should add a fifth, politics. Turkey is a constitutional secular republic, NATO member, EU candidate with stalled negotiations. The AKP has been in power since 2002, but press freedom is constrained and judicial independence has been questioned. For relocating families, daily life in expat zones is unaffected by most political headlines, but the macro environment matters for the long-term planning. Turkey's 20-year regime is the most aggressive new mobility play in Europe-adjacent geography this decade. For the right family, capital reach, foreign source income, comfortable with the cultural and language distance, it's the most economically powerful option available right now. For most families considering it, this is how I'd frame it, the decision of where in Turkey to look at. If you want the big city default with everything in one place, Istanbul, European side. Bebek, Etiler, primary, with a summer base in Bodrum or Sezme. If you want secular Aegean lifestyle at a lower cost, Izmir region, the Greek vibes framing is real. If you want slow living, retirement or a younger kid family setup, Bodrum primary. If you want active expat community and the warmest climate, Antalya. And for the contrarian insider play, Tarsus. Top American school, lower cost, less touristy, more real Turkey. The audience that will actually pull the trigger will be much smaller than the audience watching this, but the math is the math. 20 years of zero tax on all foreign income is very hard to beat. But as I always say, choose where you can thrive, feel great and express yourself at best. Tax is important, but tax is a consequence. If you found this useful, subscribe to this channel. I cover every major jurisdiction and hidden gem for location independent people, the actual numbers, the real trade-offs and no fluff ever. Drop a comment, let me know what you think about Turkey. Would you consider it? Thanks for watching and ciao for now.